This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, everyone. As we get closer to number one, I think we're 5 movies away, we are looking back in a segment that is yet to be named, but since 2016 when we froze the list, there have been a number of movies that have kind of arrived in the top 250, and we're going back, taking a look, watching those movies, seeing what the deal is, trying to figure out why they're added to the list. And this week we're starting with what is now number 40 on the list, which is the 1962 movie Harakiri or Harikari. I don't know.
Harakiri.
Seppuku. It is a Japanese movie by Masaki Kobayashi. We are starting off with spoiler-free 20-second reviews. This movie, also just to mention up front, this movie is number 1 on Letterboxd. It's the number 1 rated movie on Letterboxd of all time.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So at some point in time, this movie had a huge boost in popularity between, now and 2016. So
like some director or other group was just talking about it.
Someone flagged
or
it.
something. Yeah.
I
think I found one, but we can talk about it during trivia. But yeah, 20-second spoiler-free reviews, what we thought of this movie. I'll start going first.
Go.
All right?
Sounds good.
If there was a ratio between the slowest movies you've ever seen and those movies that are still entertaining, I don't know if it'd be a ratio, but this movie would be up there in terms of being entertaining and slow at the same time. It's like a very slowly unpeeled onion that you kind of can't wait to see what the next layer of the onion tastes like, sort of thing. I'd recommend it to a lot of people. John, what do you think?
I'll go second. John, you go next.
Good. Well, let TC go. Come on.
All right, fine, I'll go. Slow movie. This was my idea, so I don't know if I'm happy about it or sad about it. Lots of cool looking shots, really good acting. The story was actually really good once you finally get to the end. Some of the most boring samurai stuff you've ever seen, though. But other than that, I did like it.
Yeah.
What do you got, John?
Yeah, you think your knees would get really tired sitting like that a lot. Like you're just being not good to bend them that way all the time. I guess you do, maybe, but yeah.
He did sit up straight, so that's a plus.
Yeah. I mean, I can see what this film was doing. There's a lot of great shots. I could appreciate the slow pace. It just didn't get me. I was kind of bored till towards the end, and I felt bad about that. Like I could recognize what it was doing and how I should like it, but it didn't grab me, and so I feel bad.
You should feel bad.
I know.
It's entirely talking. Yeah, but
it is all talking.
But it was all
talking.
intriguing. I mean, it's hard because while it's rare when a movie is so slow, and I'm sitting there being like, I don't know why I find this entertaining, and I don't find a lot of other slow movies entertaining, because this movie barely goes, for the first half especially, barely goes anywhere but this room where this guy is like kind of sitting.
Right. It does not do a lot with even.
I mean, a lot of movement.
Good action, good acting within that very narrow range of what they're doing, sitting there talking pretty much. And really, I mean, in some ways, it makes what happens with the bamboo scene really shocking in the sense that
it was graphic,
right?
It was graphic,
and it was like
I was holding my stomach, going,
it was very surprising and maybe even more like shocking and disturbing after all of that sitting. That this is where it goes. I didn't think the film would go there. I didn't know. It's like okay,
and it didn't Tarantino it with the violence. It friggin' sat on
really
it
did.
as the guy was trying to kill himself with the bamboo.
Yes, it was terrifying. I thought, and so.
And wouldn't you say that the slow build up to it, John, made it seem more realistic as the time continued to go slowly as that scene was happening?
Yes. But I was still bored.
Perfect. It was
boring.
I feel bad because I love that. I wish I could somehow have gotten sucked into it. And maybe it's I was kind of watching it in a rush, so that's not good.
No,
that isn't. This one needed
this is a 2 hour, 15-minute long slow.
I know. And I kind of.
And they do this trick throughout where it's like they give you the exposition, but then they show you after.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't sure. Like sometimes because I looked away did I miss it? Like I'm hearing about it. No, we haven't seen it yet. Don't worry. Is where I got a few times, but it was like I'm watching. And I'm like, fuck. I must have fallen asleep or something. I don't remember that part. Right, because he's talking. Because usually we're used to thinking like, "Oh, you see it happen, and then someone like talks about it later." not the other way around, where they're like delivering you the story and then they cut into flashbacks
And they
that
start
show
showing
it.
some things, yeah.
And they start showing it. So like there was a few times where I was so bored that I was concerned that I missed something, only to come to find out that they showed us what he was talking about later on.
So that's why
a clear example of that was the hair cutting.
Yeah, I mean that part was when it really kicked in. But I thought there was like a couple things towards the beginning that kept me really intrigued. I can kind of see if you were half paying attention that if you thought that something get repeated was a mistake or you missing something, it wasn't exactly intriguing. But like I was really paying it. I was in a good mood for this movie. Apparently, I was really paying attention, and I was confused at the part where it like the first samurai comes in, you hear his story, and the second samurai comes in, and it's the exact same story. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Says the same words even. Says the same, like...
And I'm like, there's something weird going on here. Like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, from that point on, I was like, this is interesting. Like, I don't know. This other guy, like, something weird is happening here, and they're not letting me know what it is.
Yep.
And it was like a nice payoff when they finally started going through all the twists and turns of this dude's story and how he ended up in this position, which... I mean, I thought it was the way the story was structured was like fucking awesome. If this movie was faster, then I think a lot of people, like it could be modernized and a lot of people would really like it because just the way it was set up for the story structure of like, we're following this one guy and he's going to be told a story by some other guy about this guy in the past that does the same thing he was doing. We're going to listen to his whole story. Then we're going to go back to the present time, follow this guy to when he's going to kill himself in the same way, but then he's allowed to tell his story. We flash back again. You learn about how the first guy was in his life and how all these other things are happening, and that by itself is pretty intriguing. But then, like, super spoilers now, he starts telling him, like, how he tricked him and, like, cut the little buns off of 3 of his samurai, and, like, all this shit just, it kept unfolding, and I was like, wow, this is cool, because it feels like you're just sitting in a room, and even though it does flash back and show you all this shit, you feel like you're in the room with like the bad samurai dude as he's learning all this news and him being like, fuck, this guy just fucked all of us. We're screwed. It was great. I really liked the ride and the ending was satisfying with the battle.
It's a good battle too. Like it was very well. Again, this film
was
is
an okay battle.
I like the slow fighting. That's how fighting is, right? It's not going to be action scene stuff.
It was
It's
really
gonna be
messy. I kind of liked how messy it was. It would just it looked very chaotic.
Well, when the guy's head got sliced, that was pretty good.
That was nasty. Yeah, it was bad.
Back then, I was like, that's a good one to show.
The gore was good.
Yeah. I thought the message was good of like, when you judge something based on what you think it is versus figuring out what it might be and
experiencing
how that relates to
like,
how that relates to being a shitty person yourself when, you're judging someone for being shitty, but then you're also being shitty.
Right. You don't know that you don't experience some circumstances. You don't know why they are the way they are. And then, I think that it, again,
almost had a little bit of a, kind of too close to home as of late, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't need to worry about it because they're sitting in a nice position.
Right.
And the only time they feel threatened is when like that position is threatened of like, hey, all of our samurai are actually weak. This could destroy us. Mm-hmm. But the ending not being a happy ending really fit the tone of how depressing and down, like this movie was relentlessly sad. There wasn't a moment of humor in it.
Right. The
whole part of the story with like his son killing himself, the baby dying, and then the wife dying, one after the other was like, Jesus Christ.
His friend killing himself first. That kicked off the whole chain of events.
I was really invested in the story, and that stuff was like pretty sad to watch this go through because it felt realistic. It wasn't doing it in like a sappy, over the top way or anything. It was just like matter of fact.
Dwelled on it a long time. A lot of shots of this feverish baby that were hard to watch.
It was tough to watch.
Yeah.
Little hand just laying there lifeless, just sad.
It's very sad. But it didn't feel like kicking puppies, right? Because this was like
no,
times
good point.
it's just trying to like paint a picture of people's lives.
No, not a bit. Yeah, you're dead on there. That's true. It not ever feel. I never felt like I was trying to be manipulated. It was just again, it's got to be in a place where you feel like you've got some real time to burn. I think
to go back to it. It was slow. It was
slow. But you need to just sit with it, accept it, and not think about how you might have to do other things, or you're trying to do this in lunch break so you can get some other work done or something. Which is where I was.
Yeah.
That's a bad place to be.
It's also true, like the fact that it's a vengeance or a revenge movie. And like we're so conditioned for revenge movies to be like high paced, action based.
Right.
You know, like these kind of movies that just kick you in the ass,
Right.
thriller
Taken
bait,
or
right?
whatever,
and
yeah.
this is like a slow burn revenge movie where you feel like empathy for the person that's committing the revenge, and it's like a different way to get along on the ride for that kind of vengeance.
And he was
That's another reason
yeah.
I liked it so much. Like I've never seen a movie like this before. For
right.
that,
Right,
like that
right.
same what you just described, pretty unique.
Yeah,
Because it's probably
It is.
risky these days. Probably you can't make a lot of money doing this.
I mean it's a downer, right?
Yeah.
You feel bad. This poor family died because they're starving and hungry, and he's got to commit suicide because he's trying to get money. I mean, like
To get his wife who's dying
That's
and
brutal.
his kid who's dying, a freaking doctor, because apparently you can't just have someone come. There's no health insurance in 1930s Japan.
in 16,
Or sorry, 1630, whatever it was.
yeah, 1930s. Yeah, it was 1610, maybe.
You're saying there's no cell phones back then? Is that what you're telling me?
That's weird. So their pillows are just
But-
blocks of wood.
And
Okay.
and they're stuck. I mean, again, the premise works really well. Like they're samurai, yet they're Ronin because they've had all these their masters were disgraced, or the clans or whatever they're called are disbanded, so they have nowhere to go and they can't do
And it's
peasant
peace
work
times, right?
either.
It's
They're,
funny
like,
to think
screwed.
like peace
Right.
times for warriors is
Right.
bad for the
Yeah.
warrior.
Yeah,
business.
and they're
That's
like
true.
also they're not supposed to work. They're
Yeah.
really like they show the guy was actually trying to just do whatever work he could do, and they're like, no, you got swords.
We can't have you work.
We can't have your
that's an
cast working.
embarrassment. Right.
So it just it's a very good setup about people just being in a desperate situation, and it's tough, and a lot of good context that they'd put in, even as it's slow moving. Like how I like the scene where the other guy is like some other guy is like coming to get his wife to go be a concubine, or not his wife, but his daughter to go be a concubine. He's sitting there he's like constructing an umbrella. And it's great how he's just doing that, like as he's talking, and that's the scene is just set up as he's doing that. Or constantly they show how his daughter's working, like making fans, I guess, but she's always hanging them up in the background and always moving around and doing that stuff. And just a lot when they're not sitting there in that setting where he's talking, then there's a lot going on, and that's just sort of mundane life stuff that I think also works really well.
Yeah, and unlike something like Tokyo Story where that stuff happens, but there's no plot through line kind of driving it through, this one had it, and I was pretty interested because it was like developing characters during that. You were seeing there was like an action happening in those scenes while the mundane stuff was going on. So it wasn't just there to like build a feeling or add to reality. It was like actually pushing the plot.
This is more, and that is, because that's the kind of the premise is your main character is a storyteller. He's telling us a story, so we have to, we somehow need to make that interesting. How he's just sitting there telling them, and arguably though, just it needs to be interesting enough in the movie to those guys so that they just don't outright kill him and get bored. That they're still, I think they're sort of still kind of intrigued, even though they're complaining about it. So,
I mean, the fact that he was listing off the guys he wanted to cut his head off as the 3 guys that were out sick, that's enough to be like, I'm going to listen to this guy's story.
Wait a minute.
This is like fucking coincidental.
Something seems
right.
fishy
So,
here.
Yeah. The way it trickled it out. I mean, it was so slow, but I really liked it how they trickled out the info. Like he names the one guy and he's sick, and you're like, that's weird. And they send the guy to go get him. And then like the second guy, oh, he's sick. And then the 3 guys, oh, it's the 3 guys. And the guy's like, oh, that's a coincidence, isn't it? And laughs at him. Yeah. And then I think it cuts to some other backstory, and like it just dragged me along really nicely. And I was in the right mood for it, but like every slow ass scene, it felt like the movie was slow for the people that were dragged along, because there were scenes where it was going so slow. I'm like, keep going. I want to know what happens next. Stop. You're making me anxious because you're moving so slowly. I want to know what's going on. So I think that's part of the buildup where I was like really clamoring for the next bit of dialogue, the next bit of story, because I was so interested in it. And it was going slow because it knew that maybe some people would be so involved in it that I would be like, yeah, we're gonna drag you along because we know you got you. We know.
I mean, it sounds like you were sitting there watching it going like, oh, come on, I want to know. And then John was sitting there going, Jesus Christ, this thing, I just want to know. Just get it over with. Let's just get to the end.
All right, fast forward twice, going on 2x speed
very
here.
different reactions to the slowness that is this movie.
There was a scene, I forget, it was like towards the middle of the movie, and the guy was talking, and I think it cut to a very wide shot of that room where he was telling the story in, and it was way far back in like the back left corner of the room, up top, looking down at an angle, and it was a reaction shot for the leader of the clan that he was asking to do the seppuku, and nobody moves for like 10 seconds when it cuts to that shot.
Really stayed
and
still.
I thought my thing froze. Like I was getting up off the couch to grab a remote, and then the guy in the chair started standing up slowly. I was like, okay, it's part of the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the
just that
slowest
good.
shot I've ever seen in my life. I thought my TV was broken. So I was there with you sometimes, John. I'm just trying to relate to you.
I know. I just I can still like appreciate it. Like this was good. I just wasn't in the right headspace for it, I think. Because the character himself was great to watch. And it's again a good story. He knows he's gonna die. He is there to kill himself. He knows he's dying one way or another at this point.
Well, no, he's there
it.
to freaking massacre the dudes, isn't he?
Well,
Unless
yeah.
he gets the confession, I guess.
But he knows that he's going to be killed one way or the other. I mean, he knows
he's gonna be
that
dead.
he's like, this is what he's setting himself up for. He's just going to like draw this out and get what he wants out of it. But he knows one way or the other he's dying. He's not going to kill all of them. He also is somewhat suicidal. He doesn't have anything to live for. Somewhat.
One might say very.
Very not aggressively so that he can't wait though for a long time.
No, but perfectly happy with knowing that he may die going into the place.
I mean, that's his plan. His plan is to die one
He's
way.
like,
or the
I'm
other.
gonna die, whether it's on my own sword or someone else's.
Right.
You know,
and he's fine with that because that's
Yeah.
what's he got to live for according to his own words. But so again, it's already going to be. You're not going to have your happy hero ending, even though he has his revenge and so on.
No,
I mean,
but
you
it does
could-
make him a little bit more menacing.
Yeah.
you
It
know,
does.
Just
But John,
like right from the start.
You say that, but just the fact that he dies doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a sad ending. This movie
No.
could be like, people listen to him. He changed the course of history, but
also-
no, they write over what actually happened, and
Right.
the clan actually gets freaking promoted,
Yep,
and
yep.
everything is a lie. Like that's
They
such
are,
a
but
downer
just-
ending.
it is,
Sounds
but-
like the normal world.
Seriously,
Just
it
that we
does.
live in.
I mean, that's
there's
in the,
some
the movie maker. It
satisfaction-
seems like he's just like, this is how it works, and I fucking hate it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Oh yeah, there's some
Yep.
satisfaction or some mild victory, I guess, in the sense of you see how shaken everybody else is. Like how the survivor
they realize-
the counselor. He's
I
shaken.
thought they were.
Not for
He's
long.
shaken.
When they're mopping it
Oh
up,
no!
and he
But when
throws
those,
the bun
when
in
the hairs,
bucket.
when the like clumps of hair
No,
hit the
even
ground, their face
afterwards,
was
that
like,
guy,
oh.
Afterwards, that
shit.
guy still looks like he's shook up. He at least I thought he seemed shook up, even when he's explaining how they're cleaning up everything and this is what happened. He didn't.
I thought the
sound-
shot of the guy mopping the floor and throwing the bundle of hair in the bucket
Yeah.
showed that
Is
they
it-
were
is
over it
just
and
like-
they had
yeah,
done
that
stuff
they
already.
already
Oh, like
done
it was
done.
just moving on.
I don't know. I sort of thought the
Could be either
counselor
way,
was
though.
still pretty messed up after that point, but maybe not.
Not
I
after
don't know.
not after the voiceover. They get promoted. Definitely, their feelings
It's the
great after the
voiceover, but the
promotion.
character himself, even as
It's
he's
like
giving the
corporate
orders,
101.
sounded
Yeah,
pretty.
right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it's a dark world.
I mean,
It
that's,
is. It's a dark world.
we watch a lot of movies, and there's nothing like this movie. I mean, I think that's part of the reason I appreciate it a lot too. There really isn't anything that ends on this kind of downer that's relatable then, relatable now, and it ends in
And
a
not
way
to
that's
mention,
realistic. It's
what
not just
samurai movie do you know that like doesn't focus on the samuraiing and like
the
killing
fighting and
the-
stuff.
and
Yeah,
the fighting and the swords and
yeah. But it does.
like-
but it does have
but
that
it's like
threat
the
of the
other
sword in
part
the
of the-
belly the entire
right. It's
movie.
like their own. It's their own life. This is like the life around being a samurai that we're getting an insight into, which is
And even-
also not usual.
Even it being dark and sad, again, it's not puppy kicking and not rubbing it in our faces or sort of
It
like
feels
see how
hopeless.
bad it is, see how awful the world is. It's not even doing that.
No, it
It's
feels
just
kind
like-
of almost passionless a bit, like the guy's given up a tad.
Yep.
Like he's not trying to change anything with this movie. He's just kind of painting a picture of how
Right.
things work and just
Right.
being like, this fucking sucks, but this is how it is. There you go.
Right.
What do you
he's
think?
Not, he's not expecting anything to change either. I mean, he's he got his revenge to some extent. He took out those three guys one way or the other. He humiliated them. So
He might have affected how they deal with the same sort of thing in the future. Maybe.
maybe not. I don't know. But,
Hard to say.
Yeah.
But again, not usual, right? They don't usually just chop off the hair. They're gonna kill you. That's a samurai, right? So like that's also weird. It's also something that we don't usually
Well, that's like
see.
supposedly even more of a.
It's like
a-
even
a
more
victory.
like go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
even
more of
an
a
embarrassment.
humiliating defeat that not only did you get the better of them, but then they were at your mercy and you let them live and you disgrace them, by cutting off their top knots, which apparently that's kind of a status symbol. So if that's what you
Right.
cut off, then I liked how I hadn't seen this before, but the young kid, his adopted son, early on when he was there, like doing the writing or whatever, he had the top knot, and then he had like fluffy bangs in the front.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that hairstyle anymore. It's like, wow, it's kind of like an 80s top knot thing. They might as well have been feathered in the front because it was like a little parted middle.
Oh, was that your childhood there, John?
Awesome. Oh yeah.
Did you have that? Did you have a feathered top knot?
Oh, come on.
Tell us the truth.
Everybody? It might have been before you guys' time.
In the 80s, I was like 4 and I had a rat tail. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to like fling your head forward and then push it back, to get the fluff. Right?
Of course.
And then there's the story. I don't even remember if it was true or if it was just a joke about the one kid who like knocked himself out on the sink doing that because you had to throw your head forward.
What?
Yeah,
like a kid that you
got
knew
to throw your head forward and then pull it back to get the feather fluff, So
And
this
he
kid
hit
just
himself.
went bang.
knocked himself out. Wow.
Yeah, well, but I
And
don't
from that day
remember
forward,
where
the
I
feathered
heard that
fluff
one.
was banned from schools.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well, nice.
Yeah. What else we got?
What were we talking about? So
don't
you
know.
just mentioned one of the better twists in the movie to me, who was being dragged along, was he had the three guys he stole the top knots from. The way he phrased the beginning of the story was that he got the top knots from 2 of them, and it
Right.
made you think that he killed the third one.
Right.
And the movie
Yeah.
let you believe that through the entire long scene of the guy coming to the guy's house, then walking through the cemetery, which is some of the coolest freaking shots in this movie.
Yeah,
I was
those
gonna
were
say,
cool.
yeah, the wind and it was
fog
Sword
and the
fight in the wind.
trees.
yeah, that was
It was beautiful.
a very awesome sequence, and
Yeah.
I really thought just the way that the scenery, but then the wind, but then how they would position themselves, or they would hold their swords differently each time,
Yeah.
and like,
And you thought he was going to kill him, right? Because the way the story was going, they
Right.
led you to believe he killed him. And even as it cuts back to the guy sitting in the chair, he's still talking like he killed him until
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, "Fuck you! I cut his top knot off too," and then flips
Right.
it out of him. You're like, "Oh, it's another twist."
Yeah.
This movie is just twist after twist with this guy kneeling on a pad. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good.
I knew you guys weren't going to like it.
I mean, it's not that I
was
didn't
sitting
like
there.
it. It's just slow and boring. And
Sounds like you
the
don't
only
like it,
thing
TC.
the only thing I kept saying was, I can't believe I'm the one that picked this.
I'm glad you did because I wanted to watch it, and you're just like, "Sounds great." I'm like, "All right, TC's
Dude,
on the hook."
So I read the reviews and I read, the synopsis, and I was like, hey, that actually sounds like it'd be pretty good. And we've seen some that have been good before, like, Akira and
Yep.
whatever else, So it's like,
Sure.
let's try.
I mean,
yeah.
Seven
And the other ones
Samurai
that
we
we
loved.
watched.
We liked we liked the Akira Kurosawa films. So, but yeah, well, yeah, and
I like the tone of this one.
This one's way up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
funny
hey, I
how
love a
it came
good
from
talkie.
behind.
I do.
And a real life sort of thing, a sense of just, it's not, it's giving you a very measured stuff where you feel like you're just watching things happen. Although it's a little different this time because he's doing the storytelling. So you're going back and forth a lot, but
I mean, it was a little bit 12 Angry Men style, right?
yeah, it's trapped in that room.
Trapped
One
in the
room, slow talking,
34 Angry Samurai.
34 Angry Samurai sitting perfectly still.
Yeah. One calm, determined suicidal samurai.
Yep. And a starving children. And they're starving children.
And this movie did a lot really good with the character development. I mean, just to talk about the main character, he basically starts off as like, he seems heroic, he seems determined, he's got honor. He comes in, he's not afraid of death. You're developing your thoughts towards this character. He's obviously more determined than the first guy who came in, who was a little timid, who's definitely a liar. They're comparing him against those two. You're developing this image of this character, the main character of the story. But then he starts going back in time, and what you see before his entire family friend circle dies is he's a different person. He's like a caring, friendly person who has like, not the richest life, but I mean, he's got a fulfilling life,
Right.
And he has moral values. He wouldn't ever do that. Like
Right.
they talk
He's
about
got
him
friends.
being despicable.
People really care about him, and
he's like a different character then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the story, when he starts revealing all, saying once all the truth comes out, basically, then he becomes like an animal, right? And that's like he becomes like a rabid animal who's just like, fuck you guys. I'm going to fucking stab as many of you as I can before I die.
Yep.
And I believed all of it. And that's all just like his character by itself did all those things through flashbacks and, acting. And writing. The writing was really good
and
too.
sweating, some good sweating.
Some sweating, yeah. But impressive. I felt like I really followed this. It seemed like an epic story, and really it was like a Forrest Gump thing where you're sitting in a spot and like you're learning about all this history, and then maybe it goes forward a little bit after he's done telling the story.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump Samurai, that's what this movie is.
I mean, actually,
I'm
that's
not
a pretty good
I don't know if
comparison.
anybody would have stayed by the bench that long with him just sitting there
You gotta catch the
waiting for the bus.
Like a really depressing story,
Yeah,
too.
just sitting there. I got the bus is. I'd like to stay here
So
for
then the
another
baby's
2
like,
hours.
I think I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to go ahead and walk.
Sorry, I don't know, man. You get to the bamboo sword part, man, and
on second thought, it's not that far. I'll talk to you, man. Be good. Wish you and your family the best.
But there's all that going on. And then
maybe you didn't
also,
know.
it has this whole, it like paints this picture of the time really nicely. I thought like this period piece, and it sets up like how all of these, how the world is set up. Like it's just fucked up how the reason that this giant castle full of like people on retainer fell is because they performed renovations without getting permits. So the city shut down this castle, and all this actually happened. So like it's such a weird technical thing. I thought it was really strange in the movie when they said that, and I was like, it's got to be real because why would you write that? That's not exciting. Yeah. It's like
right, like who
paperwork
thinks of that,
right?
right?
Yeah.
The bureaucracy just getting shut down.
But just it paints like a realistic, strange picture of like how, I don't know, maybe the government. I was thinking like the government of Japan was trying to take control away from the people that gained a lot of power during the time of war, sort of thing. Like they were putting all these rules in and making the consequences like, well, we'll take your fucking castle. We'll make it so you have to spread all these Ronin out, you know? So, I mean, that small piece of information there really paints a whole history with all these things. And that sets off the idea, which I think we've watched a couple of samurai movies before where it's like Ronin, wandering Ronin sort of thing, but like never like this. Like they always kind of make do, right? Like even in Seven Samurai, they're all doing okay as samurai, right? They're like the down and out samurai, but like they're not dying and they're not
and they're making the rounds and
whatever.
like causing havoc,
Right,
and
they're
doing
having
whatever
fun,
they feel. Yeah, like they're
basically.
having fun.
Yeah.
Right, they're not starving and
Or
you know,
at the
having
very
no
least,
options.
maybe that's not the point of their part of the story. You know, that's not what it's really in Seven Samurai. You know, it's like a part of the story is they're Ronin, so they're still sort of like trying to find some worth and value and things like that, and that's interesting. But yeah, certainly they're not showing a horrible effects of like not being able to work so much. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting.
It does a lot with it being trapped in a bottle, basically. That I'm trying to get at.
No, it does,
Right.
and it doesn't have to show you much. You know, you're seeing a couple. You know, you've got. In fact, that's what makes it so. Just like when you get to the part where the guy cuts himself the bamboo, it's so shocking, and because everything else has been very bland up to that point in terms of the visuals, good camera movement and everything, but your location has been really bland, and the actor's been really. So even when you get to that fight scene too, where you're in the windswept the cemetery and the wind is blowing, it's quite startling and amazing because everything else has been so. Like even like that he's following the one guy through the street was like, oh boy, they're going through a street. Let him go through that
They're using
street.
their legs. This is
Look
great.
at that. Right. That one guy's hiding in the corner. He's going to wait for him. This is amazing. People are walking. Yeah. So, but
everything outside that center square is not calm.
Right. But they're still not showing a lot throughout the film. But then when they do go out there, it's really impressive. But you still get a sense of the time and the period with a lot of telling in a way. Too, in terms of him saying what's happening and so forth. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, one of the best shots was when they just showed the people piling onto each other when he was trying to look for work.
Oh yeah. Oh.
They were just like all running into the
Yeah,
wall.
that was a good shot with it,
I was like, that's 1950. That's 19 whatever. 57, 62, whatever.
16, 20?
Yeah, and but just like the shot of like being able to do that.
Great Depression sort of thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot of good framing too throughout. Even in the beginning opening credits where the credits would pop on and they would like change to a different room that had perfect symmetry with something down the middle, and then the letters would sort of like align up in the middle of that, and just it was really well thought out. I thought the opening sequence there.
I thought all the beginning was really thought out. I agree, the opening sequence especially, but then even like was the book a part of the opening sequence? The way the book looked on the table was like kind of hard to tell if it was a painting or if it was real. That kind of like just the way it was framed was strange, but not a lot of camera movements in this. A lot of like framed still shots that last a while, but I thought, and a lot of the scenery was like empty because for some reason in all these like old samurai, they have a bunch of rooms, but there's like nothing in any of the rooms.
But there's nothing in them. It's
like,
very minimal.
I don't really understand that, but it seems constant, so I have to assume that's the way it was. But even still, we've seen a lot of movies like that. This movie stood out as having better lighting than a lot of those other movies, and it seemed more consistently intentional. I don't know if that's the right. It looked like they spent a lot of time on all the shots because they knew they'd be lingering on it, and it looked really good, even if it was an empty room with people sitting and talking in it. That's the boring part. But the framing, I thought, I don't know. You'd get a lot of people talking online, John, about how this movie is excellent cinematography. So I'll be on their side. For
could
that
be
one.
fair. Yeah.
I'm definitely on their side for sure.
Yeah.
I thought the score was good too. Sometimes came in when it like you least expected it, and then you realize it had been quiet for like 4 minutes.
Yep.
And just that pluck is scary, and they use it now in horror films, right? We
but
still
not
hear
there
that
all the
same
time,
kind of
like not
plucking
egregious
noises.
at all. Like it really was.
No, not at all.
It was very sparingly used.
I think for that entire samurai scene, there was like no score whatsoever. It was just like, especially during the wind part, there was definitely no score. It was just the wind. But I think even as they were walking there was nothing. You just heard the wind in their footsteps for like 7-8 minutes. It worked.
It did work. It was good.
I like the one. I couldn't tell what it was, and I couldn't read any trivia, but it sounded like a trash can almost. There was like reversed. It was like a reverse trash can smash. It had like a weird ringy hollow tin metallic type of sound, and they used it not like they had the crashing on the strings too, like the zither crash and that thing, but it was like a different kind of percussion crash, and it was unique and cool sounding. I liked it.
Not a Western instrument.
Definitely not.
Probably not. Yeah.
Although those things, so they have Western equivalents. They're the ones used in this movie are the biwa and the koto. And the biwa is somewhat of an equivalent to a lute, and the koto is kind of like a zither. So similar.
I can't picture either one of those things for some reason.
A lute is like a fat little, like if you watch a fantasy movie and you got a little drunk guy playing a little guitar when the guitar is like nice and fat.
Okay.
That's like a lute. And then a zither is like a flat guitar that I think it might be Indian, but like the Beatles used it. It's kind of like psychedelic.
That's the George Harrison stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also then they're going to use very different tunings. Regardless, right?
Different play styles.
Very. I mean, another thing, I like the singing in this. There were a number of songs, and it's such an unusual style where he was like singing to the baby, and it didn't happen a lot, but there was just a couple of parts where he was singing, and it was sort of just a very unusual style that fit so well with what. I mean, it just seemed like, well, this is what you do, and it was kind of neat to watch too.
Added to the realism, didn't it, John? Made you feel extra sad when that baby didn't get up again.
Yeah. I'm glad. I was grateful because I was like, oh shit, how long are we going to linger on the death of the baby, which I know is coming, and the death of the daughter?
Spoilers, quite a long time.
Well, no, but thankfully you don't get to watch the whole thing. It was sort of like, and he just sort of says, and then the baby died, and then she died after. I was like, oh god.
You thought they were going to make you watch the baby give its last breath, and I thought so too. I was like, this is going to be fucked up if I have to watch this baby stop moving. I would have been
surprised at that point. We'd see the baby die, and then the mom dies from grief. I was pretty sure we were going to go there, but thankfully we skipped over those parts. So sets it up well enough that you really don't need to see that anyway.
No, don't want to see it. Don't need to see it. I already feel pretty terrible about what they're getting at here with this story.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. This movie, I don't know. When I was watching, I was like, it's slow, but I like the slowness, and there's nothing else wrong with it. This is one of those movies, like on first watch, I could probably pick it apart in a second watch, but I didn't get taken out for a second during this entire movie. That's really, really rare. So I can kind of see like how people think this movie is awesome if you can have time and if you're in the right mind space for it. I feel like that's the biggest barrier.
Give yourself
getting
3
into
hours or something. You just be somewhere where you just don't have anywhere to be for a while.
Get the dishes done before you put it on, right?
Right?
No tasks waiting for you at the other end immediately.
Yeah, get the
tasks
kids
that need
to bed.
to get done.
Don't have it be too late so that you're tired.
No, definitely watch it during the day or like early evening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's all I got. Let me see here. You guys got anything else to say? I think we pretty well covered.
No, I think that's it. I mean, I don't think I'd watch it again, but I do. I'm glad I did watch it. I think it
Nice.
fits real well with going through what we did with 12 Angry Men. So
it's a good
knock
pairing.
out two old movies in a month.
Two old
I'm a
stay in
happy
one
guy.
room movies.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to recommend another one of this director's movies for next week, but I think I'll actually hold off until Halloween because he made a horror movie and it's supposed to be one of the best horror movies ever made.
Really? What's it
wow.
called?
And,
What year was that?
1967, I think.
Again?
This is 62.
Damn.
Yeah, in the 60s. It's called Kwaidan. Or it's Kaidan is how you're supposed to pronounce it, but it's spelled Kwaidan, one word.
Okay.
Kaidan.
It looks crazy.
All right.
I watched some trailers. Criterion remastered it, like visually.
So we're going for the Halloween mark.
Yeah.
All right.
This one's in color, and at the very least, it's going to be like visually stunning.
Color,
So,
huh? Is this his first color film?
Second color film.
Interesting.
Yeah. He was late to the party with the color.
But not that late. I mean, to the Hollywood party, because this is a damn good movie for not being a part of that chain, right?
That's definitely true.
Yeah, I imagine that the audio's ADR'd in because it doesn't stand out, and maybe because it's we don't speak the language. Because I mean it just fits really well.
It sounded really good. Sync was really
It did sound good.
Yeah,
I assumed it was recorded in. I assumed you can make those like samurai rooms sound friendly.
maybe pretty sound friendly. Maybe
Right? You
so.
just build the soundproofing
but it didn't
behind
sound
the
like there was
wall?
much. The audio just sounded direct though. The speaking
sounded crisp and clear,
like
though,
it wasn't.
and
It wasn't
direct.
ambient.
Yeah.
Like it didn't seem. So it
And that was surprising because you can't put a boom mic in these wide ass shots because there are a lot of wide shots.
Right. So that's why I was thinking this was probably like ADR'd in, but it was just done really well. And
Maybe
again,
they did all the dialogue in the same space,
Maybe.
right? Record the video and then go back into the space, record the audio.
Maybe so.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see. I don't know what they did back then, but it certainly doesn't show. Whatever. Maybe they did record it live, but I have a hard time thinking that the voices would just sound so direct, like the way they do.
And
the
now
voices are
the
like,
mouth looked like the lips movement.
yeah.
The lip movement looked fine to me.
Yeah.
It didn't, but again, we don't speak the language, so maybe we weren't.
We're not
really
looking
aware.
at the mouths all the time. We got to read the
Right.
lines. Yeah.
That's- yeah,
Right.
maybe.
yeah.
Right.
But as someone
Either
who
way,
has-
like I agree, John. If it sounded consistent, it sounded clean, and it allowed you to stay within the shot without being taken out. Like sometimes we have been in some of those old movies where it doesn't matter what the shot is when the lips don't line up.
right. Or the
You're
audio.
out
yeah,
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it changes in between shots, you're out of it, So they did a good job of keeping it consistent. For
Speaking of which, guys, I just watched the most recent Mission Impossible movie. Holy
yeah.
shit.
Oh, was it good?
No.
Ah,
There were scenes
terrible.
where the audio dialogue was off by like over a second from the mouth. I'm like,
What?
what the fuck is this? These guys
They're not giving a shit anymore.
they ran out of time or they don't give a shit or whatever it was.
They don't
the movie
care.
was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It was so bad. It was
Wow.
That
and
I'm
sucks.
surprised. I
out-
would at least thought the production values were super high there.
There were
like that.
3 action scenes that were fun, but they were all in the second half of this 3-hour long movie. Movie was legit 3 hours. First hour and a
Jesus.
half, no action scenes. All they did was talk about the stupid plot. They like told the people in this one area the plot of the movie. They had to move to the next area, found new people, had to explain the plot to them so they could take them to the next area. And they just re-explained the plot over and over again as they traveled across the frickin' planet. Oh my God, man. It was like the worst one. It was terrible.
Denny, I don't think you're grateful enough that Tom Cruise is allowing you to
To
watch
watch.
his brilliance.
We watched
Okay?
it in IMAX. He popped up on screen before anything else, and he's like,
Oh,
"We made
thank
this for
you for seeing
IMAX
my
He's
film."
like, I'm the best. I'm
We
the
made it
best.
for
I'm
you.
the best.
I'm like,
Right.
thanks, Tom. Thanks for making this for
Thank
me.
you.
Every percent that I make after this is also thanks to you.
That's right. And it
If
all
you get your
goes.
hands-
a substantial
And then
amount
he
will go
says,
to my
if
cult.
you notice that in a few scenes that the audio dialogue is not so great, we did run out of money for that.
Don't give a
Right.
fuck
It
about
all
you.
went to Tom. Right.
We didn't do that one for you.
Right.
We got tired.
For Tom.
We had chores to
Right.
do at the other end of this editing session, so we decided not to sync it up. Okay.
That's right. Next.
If you ever get a chance to watch it for free on streaming, though, fast forward it to an hour and a half in when there's a scene in a cabin in the snowy part where they all start punching each other. Start watching it then. That's the first
then it's
action
good?
scene. and just fast forward between action scenes. There's 3 of them.
Oh.
They're good. The rest of
After
it,
that, you don't need it.
you don't need it.
I remember
All right.
I really liked the first one, and then everything else was downhill. It seemed I
Fourth,
totally. I
fifth,
can't-
and sixth, they're great, dude.
Oh, really? I don't even know. I don't think
Second and third were mediocre. It was like downhill. It went
Wait,
like first.
didn't we
drop,
watch one?
sec-
Did we watch one as a bonus episode?
We watched the Bond one.
Oh, it's a Bond film. Okay, I get those. Yeah, we watched the
They're
Bond
basically
film.
the same.
They can be
exactly.
interchangeable.
I know. I was going to say. I was thinking like
Yeah.
they're at a casino and dancing around, and that was okay.
No one cares about your love relationship. Get to the next action scene. God damn it! What do you think I'm paying for?
That's right.
Hurry up with this.
Right.
This is what
Aren't
your
you gonna
eighth
jump out of a
girlfriends?
plane or out of a helicopter?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Put yourself in danger. Fuck you.
Right.
Right. Trivia. No commentary track for this one. Sad story. Not a lot of trivia, but there is a few things, and then we can go into a little bit of history on this director because it's kind of an interesting backstory for this Kobayashi guy. He's probably the second most famous Japanese director in the States of all time for live action movies. Studio Ghibli doesn't count there. But,
yeah.
Okay.
but second most, like for samurai movies, second most famous one. But he doesn't get talked about a lot because I don't know. There's not enough space. People only know one Japanese director. But this movie used real swords and spears for all the action scenes, which made a lot of people nervous, including the lead actor who did the stunts. Like the main character guy was holding a real sword, and the other people were trained swordsmen, and they were trained, but he was still fucking nervous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they're quite pointy, those things. They're
One
weapons of
wrong
war.
move.
Yep. But they look real and good for a reason. That's the real shit.
No,
right
I did.
there.
I did. One of I mean, it really sticks with me that sword fight scene, just how tense it was that they were just far apart from each other and then just sort of faking each other out a little bit. But they both looked scared. I mean, they both looked like, they're like worried. And it wasn't like anything spectacular, some like slashing, parrying, and jumping around or whatever. It was really more like kind of breaking apart, being really nervous, changing your grip, and then coming in and one slash or one like clang, and then they're back up again. Then they're starting over again.
Yeah.
And it was pretty tense, which might be more like what real like one-on-one sword fighting might be like, not nearly swashbuckling.
Well, then they talk about how, like, again, unraveling it one peel at a time. After the scene you watch, he talks about how that guy's samurai was not battle tested, right? They're like, none of these guys he has there are battle tested. So it's like, sure, it's like you can train as much as you want on land to be a seaman, but it's totally different once you get to sea. Right. And you think like, okay, he had the upper hand because this guy is a tried and true samurai. But he's like, but then I also haven't had battle for 16 years either. So I'm pretty much freaking as inexperienced as this dude. So, I mean, they're both like, unpracticed and out of practice. Yeah. That's cool. So maybe it is more like swashbuckling when you get like,
maybe
people that do it all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Peels of an onion, John. Every line of dialogue.
I like that guy.
The story.
Even like the swordsman guy, it was another scene. It was just fun. They're in the, he catches him at his home, the swordsman guy, and he's like, well, we could fight here.
But you got nice umbrellas.
But here's what's going to happen.
If you go that way, I'm going to catch my sword on this thing, and if you jump that way, I'm going to catch my sword on that.
That's exactly why
thing.
the guy was standing where he was, because he had a nice little defensive system set up.
Yeah. That's true.
Maybe, that's right.
True.
So, but anyway, I kind of like that scene too, and it gave that guy a little bit of made him into a bit of a character in a way that I kind of like too.
Yeah. Like, hey, man, look, we both know this could get ugly in here. Let's just be men, and we're going to be polite.
Right.
And then we're going to walk to the graveyard.
I might get my sword stuck in the beam, and that would just be embarrassing.
Yeah, that would be stupid, right?
Well, it sounded like to me that he wanted to bring him to a spot where he had the advantage, because I didn't quite understand why. But when the guy was describing the story, he's like, he took advantage of the wind, which is a brilliant move. But he was an untrained or whatever. So like he brought him to a place where it was windy and he knew it, because that guy had like a trick to use the wind somehow to win in a battle. But I didn't.
But the other guy's still stronger.
Yeah, I didn't see what that
samurai.
was. I missed it.
I missed the trick, but you're supposed to assume that the wind gave the other guy the advantage.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Turns out Suicidal Samurai still better.
He's still better.
Yeah.
Having a win trick is okay, but you got to be better overall.
When you've got nothing to lose, that's right.
What else we got here? If you couldn't tell from the movie's point, Masaki Kobayashi was opposed to Japan's feudal system. Pretty obvious. Yeah, I watched like a review of this guy online on YouTube. It wasn't like too good for this movie, but the guy basically was making the argument that every single one of this director Kobayashi's movies was a horror movie, and he didn't mean it to be. They're just like, he's a super dark director, and there's like some really scary, violent stuff that happens in all of them. But you know, he did this one movie which we could watch, but it's 10 hours long. It's called The Human Condition. It's also one of the highest rated and considered and reviewed Japanese movies of all time. It's actually three movies put into one, so it's kind of a trilogy. But when they put it in theaters, it was one movie. They had a 10-hour long movie in the theaters back in the 60s. You believe that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. They split it into 3 movies with the, you know, at the intermissions to release it on like TV and home video and stuff like that.
Holy shit.
It's supposed to be really good. So he directed that one too. And the other one that's popular in this country is called Samurai Rebellion. That was his first color movie. And that also looked pretty good.
But dark.
Hard to tell from the trailer, but apparently all of these are like dark. Like
he was just a downer kind of guy.
Yeah, and I can tell you why. So this guy, his family was a descendant of samurai. So like he grew up in the upper middle class in Japan. He had pretty great parents from the sounds of it. He was into art as a kid. His parents supported that. They sent him to an art college. They showed him movies as a kid. He was really into like paintings and visual art and stuff like that. More individual art through college. But he went to college and he majored in art and philosophy with some history stuff in there as well. He worked as a director in training. So like right when he graduated college, it was 1942. World War II was happening. And he was afraid for himself. He thought like he didn't have long to live. Everyone was pretty afraid of what was going on. So the reason he switched over from visual art, which was his main kind of driving, you know, hobby or whatever. He wanted to do visual art, but he didn't think there was enough time to get into visual art. He thought movies went faster and it was easier to like leave something behind with movies.
Oh, God.
You didn't have to build like a whole, life's work sort of thing. You could just make a movie and maybe people would remember you. So he switched over to movies. He was an assistant to a director for 8 months before he got drafted to the Japanese Imperial Army. He was in the army for 3 years. God. He's never on the front lines, but doesn't mean he had a great time. He was stationed, the longest station that he had was on some island where they had to resort to eating dogs and crickets to survive. They just didn't have food. So like his life was shit for those 3 years. And then when the war ended, he was in a POW camp for a year because he was in the Japanese side. When he got home in 1946, he learned that his brother had died 2 years before fighting in China in the war, and his dad died from old age or something else. So that's his news when he finally gets out of war. Like he gets out of the war, out of the POW camp, gets home. 2 of his family members are dead. Awesome.
Damn.
Yeah. So then he just immediately went into making movies from then on. And that's what he like went through. He's not surprisingly probably got a pretty bleak outlook on life and focused on movie making. Like he had those kind of 2 things. You know, he's Japanese, he's got samurai in his family, he's got World War II in his history. The Human Condition is about World War II. So he kind of just tries to paint things with movies.
What he's been through.
Well, what he's been through and what he thinks, and he's kind of
and how he sees the lands, you know, based on his problem.
And I like the attitude of this movie a lot. This movie has a real fuck you attitude to it, where it's just like, it's boring. I don't fucking care. This movie is like bleak. I don't fucking care. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. And there's going to be no laughs. It's not going to be a happy ending. I'm going to like show you how things are, in my opinion, and you can deal with it. So good luck. And that's awesome. It's kind of, you know,
I mean, it's his story.
It is.
It is.
He's not trying to,
you can see the parallels with the, you know, the wife and the kid, right? Yeah. It's like his family member's dad, his other family member's dad, right? There's 2 people. It's like, you can see it. It's all inspirational.
It is.
But like, you know, that's tough to have like, want to make the stuff that you've been through, but also make it just as dark for everybody else.
But also it is dark and bleak and all of that, but it's like the story, the way it's put together is made with some consideration for bringing people along. Like he has a good knack for storytelling, right? Like that's, you can't just have a sad story and expect people to care or watch it, right? He has like talent, and some part of it he wants people to follow. You know, you have to kind of broaden it enough so people will actually listen to you to get your point of view across, which is extremely negative.
Well,
right?
and every single character he has on screen made a choice, and that choice is what drove them to the situations that we see on screen. So that's a recipe for a good story right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Got anything else to say, John? I'm pretty sure you're just staring at. What are you staring at there, John? What do you got?
I'm just zoning out.
He's
honestly.
already asleep.
I'm sorry. It's a little
It's a
late
masterpiece, John. It's a fucking masterpiece.
All right.
Neither
It's
you
good.
guys
Yeah, it's good. It's
can tell me
good.
It is
otherwise.
good. It is. I mean, it just feels kind of bad for the guy. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty bleak, you know. I don't know. Hopefully, he had some fun.
I'm sure he had a great old time. Once he started
Somebody-
making it big in movies, he probably bought ice cream cones for everyone. Come
Maybe
on.
so. Maybe so.
I bet he still just had a wooden pillow.
I'd rather just not have a pillow.
I think he was bleak all the way to the end. The poor
I'm
sap.
going no pillow these days anyway. You guys ever tried to go no pillow? It's better.
What?
Yeah.
Did you have to put something there?
why do you
use
need a
use
pillow?
your arms?
No.
Does your neck kind of get a little kinked down?
I sleep on my back.
Oh, well, you sleep on
there
your
you
back.
go.
That's a little different.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until you get
Pillow.
old enough to have the snoring problem.
Oh, I already got that.
I
have to turn my
I already
head.
got that.
All right, so now you're sleeping on your back, but turning your head.
Turning my head.
I might be in a separate room at some point in the
Oh,
future.
no. Yeah.
You know?
Just get a white noise machine and crank it on high, TC. That's what you gotta
She's
do.
got to wear earplugs at this point. So.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Top 250, guys.
I'll say yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why it's in the list.
Yeah. Oh, John's going yeah too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We just ramble. I like it if we ramble at John positively long enough, he'll just hop on.
I can just roll
I mean,
over.
he wasn't negative on it. It's just a little slow and boring, you know?
He was
telling you,
negative on it. What are you talking about? He was totally negative on it.
No.
I mean, I was
saying
bored, but I
was
liked it.
more positive than TC,
know?
actually.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Listen to
I
the
was,
tape.
I was.
Let's
go to
rewind
the
the
tape.
tape.
You'll hear me say that I appreciated everything about it. I just didn't take it. I just knew I wasn't in the mood for it, and I didn't blame the
Yeah.
film for that. So there.
Right.
I disagree.
Yeah. So there.
Don't tell me how I feel.
I listen to how you feel.
No.
You told me how you feel.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You said it sucked, John. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
didn't say it sucked.
remember.
Did I say it sucked? I did not say it sucked.
No, you did. You did not.
That's right.
Listen to the tape.
Go to the tape.
All right. Well, I mean, that was a good one off script.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey,
What are we doing next week?
So we have a couple options here.
I think this is a mission avoid Schindler's List.
Yes,
for as
that's
long as
exactly-
we
That's
Yeah.
can.
actually
that.
the new podcast name for
That
anyone
is
who's
the
wondering.
next
Yeah.
movie, and I don't want to watch it.
Not for
Right.
another year.
Yeah.
And
no,
want things to
thank you.
clear up.
And then next year we'll kick it off for another year.
Anyway,
So
We have
if
remainders.
If we're going backwards through the movies that are now on the top 250 list, there is a movie that has, it's got an 8.7
okay.
on IMDb. It is a docudrama biography drama.
What?
It's an Indian film. It's called it's called 12th Fail.
Fail.
Made
Okay.
in 2023, very recent movie. Very popular in India. It's got
91%.
150,000 votes on IMDb
12
with an
fail.
8.7. It is rated number 68 on the top 250 right now.
I haven't seen an Indian. Is there going to be singing and happiness? I don't know if it's called 12th Fail.
It's a docudrama, so I don't know, but
I don't even know
Maybe?
what is a docudrama? Does it count as a film?
I think it's like a dramatization of a real story. It's not like a
okay.
documentary, but like they recreate it.
So
like a
probably
true
no
story.
singing.
Probably not. But it's only 2.5 hours, so even if it's bad, it's not like a 4-hour movie, you know?
I'm down.
It
I'm
can't
down.
be bad.
I'm down. I haven't seen an Indian film for a while. So
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, all
Done.
right. Your
12th
task
fail.
for next week is to come up with a snappy name for this 250 Revisited. Maybe it's just 250 Revisited or something like that. But that makes it seem like we're watching the same movies again. I don't know. Put
Yeah.
your
Still
thinking caps
Mission
on.
250, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just trying to find films to watch to see if we put them in our own list. That's all. Same
That's
thing.
all. That and not watching Schindler's List. It's those two things.
That yes.
motivates us.
Mission avoid.
The other
Yeah.
250.
Schindler's List. I say we just bounce and start watching the same movies in reverse order again, going up. Start going up the stream.
Oh, great. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to Pulp Fiction. Why not?
Yeah. All right. All right. 12th fail it is.
12th fail.
See you next
Sweet.
week,
All right,
boys.
sounds good,
Talk to you
guys.
next week.
All right.